Welcome to Rainbow Soulstrology, a weekly podcast presented by Brighthawk and Hollis Taylor. Together, we lay out the weekly astrology in an accessible, inclusive, candid, and insightful way and what it means for you. Hollis is amazing. They're a seasoned astrologer and psychic medium. I'm a musician, artist, and storyteller. We love to make the cosmos relatable, which is why we begin by tuning in with a guided meditation, helping all of us ground and center and feel the planetary energies of the week more deeply. Then we dive into this week's astrological forecast, answer your questions, and then look at the horoscopes for all the signs for the week. Whether you're brand new to astrology or you've been following the stars for years, welcome to the conversation. Welcome to Rainbow Soulstrology. Let's get centered, take a breath, and explore what the universe has in store for us.
Hello. Hello. It's beautiful, beautiful handpan music. Welcome everyone. Glad you're here. We made it. We're glad you're here. And I'd like to invite you to take a few deep breaths and settle in with us for today's astrology forecast. I'm Hollis Taylor.
I'm Brighthawk.
And together we do Rainbow Soulstrology forecast and astrology weekly forecast. We're queer, we're here, and we're doing it. Okay?
Happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride. I love summer solstice, mostly just because of Pride. Grateful for all our ancestors that stood together and protested the mistreatment of the people that were in the queer bars back at the original Pride. I'm grateful to our ancestors. And I invite you to just take a deep breath and settle into your body. Close your eyes, let down your shoulders, and with each deep breath, just relax something else. You to imagine yourself in outer space. In a huge, never-ending, endless, black darkness that is the universe, with shiny lights and bright stars. And what seems to be the stillness. And as you are floating in the endless darkness, suddenly a being appears beside you, running towards you as fast as it can, with a planetary hat and a rolled up scroll in their hand, the androgynous planet of Mercury takes flight with wings on its feet, wings on their feet, and their steps seem to make them fly. And as this being moves towards you at the speed of light, it scoops you up and takes you with them to where integrity in your language matters, where what you say is heard by all. Where it highlights the most important parts, and the messages that you have are taken away because Mercury drops you as fast as it picked you up. With its message from you in its hand, they take off, entering the sign of Leo. And as we come back into our own bodies, back into the here and now, getting present, wiggle your fingers and toes, and come back to the here and now.
Always a pleasure.
I appreciate that. I find that music helps so much. And we have we are working on we are coming back with our guided meditations. So if you enjoy the guided meditations with Bright Hawk's music and my guidance, you will you will definitely be finding one coming up soon. Bright Hawk's going to hopefully record the music in the next day or so, and I'll try to get it out before the end of the week. Okay, so
That's why it's worth hitting the little bell on the subscribe button on Bright Hawk Productions and Divine Androgen, because once you hit the bell, then you'll know when we put new stuff out, especially that since we've taken a little bit of a break and we got a lot of really
But we're coming back strong.
We appreciated people's real positive response to the first half dozen we did.
Yeah, and this one's going to be about chakra healing. So I really think it's in perfect timing. A lot of us are really feeling the astrological shifts. And if you're a little bit older, you're probably feeling it in certain areas of your body, depending on how your astro chart is set up. And I do wellness guidance. I can help you with like herbs or food changes, things like that to help you diagnose yourself. And you can use astrology to help you find wellness, I would say. I mean, I can find my heart condition in there, but I'm not sure I could find the answer to dealing with it, except I found that at the doctor's, right? But I would say there are things that I can tell you about your heart. Okay, you've been to the doctor, you're doing everything you can. Let's make sure you're doing this, and this as well. Or this herb can support you. Check in with your doctor, that kind of thing. And I do that kind of thing. And I'm a Virgo, so Virgos are just like, we love wellness, don't we, Bright Dog?
Of course, I'm a Virgo rising.
Yeah.
So I've learned so much from Hollis in that regard. Tons.
And I love, herbs and stuff.
Yeah. It's good to know when you're resonating in your highest vibrational frequency. You're supporting yourself with good quality food, good quality water, good quality air.
Yeah.
We are very, very fortunate. We live in a forest, a pine forest at the top of a mountain at 9,000 feet. So we're way above all the city EMFs and the buzz of, cities. And it's huge. You feel the difference so dramatically.
You definitely
and
do.
When we traveled, it was like, wow. Okay, so finding the kind of food we like to eat or make sure everything's organic. Some things are harder to find in other parts of the country.
Yeah, but I will say that you could even sense the different energies as we were traveling on the train, which of course, in an airplane, you're way up above everything. But in the train, you're going through sometimes people's backyards, but sometimes you're going through mountain ranges and things like that. And it's beautiful nature, but you can definitely tell when you get near the towns and the cities versus like just the vibe. Just the vibe, you can tell. Yeah.
There was definitely a buzz to Chicago versus, a train station in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's totally different vibes.
Yeah.
So
Samantha liked my meditation. Did you like that, Samantha? It's very Mercury.
Very mercurial.
I saw a lightning symbol, which is a symbol for Mercury.
Oh, yeah.
But Mercury, actually, there's like images of Mercury that you can find. There's like famous images of Mercury, and Mercury has little like lightning bolt wing things coming off the back of their shoes, and they're an androgynous being. So Mercury is considered an androgynous planet, at least in my world when I do astrology, because I like to make sure that since Mars represents masculine and Venus tends to represent feminine, instead of cutting those out, I just say throw it all in and let Mercury be the andro, right? And that's either both or neither. And I think even for fluid people that move in and out, oftentimes their Mercury is playing a part of that, or Mars or Venus are often playing a part in people's astrology charts when you start to see gender and gender expression that way, and even queerness. You can see all of that in the chart. It's a fun thing to look at.
Hollis is kind of amazing that way, I'm just going to say. Well worth getting a reading because they have a way of seeing all the things in the chart, and it's pretty remarkable to watch you work. So,
well, I just find
it that way.
I found it fascinating. I know for me, as a non-binary, queer, lesbian, whatever you want to call it, okay, like I identify as non-binary and I'm attracted to women, okay? And so for me, when I went through my astrology chart and I found certain things that said that you are lesbian, you are non-binary, those things validated me.
Yeah.
Right? They helped me feel like,
big time.
Okay, so I'm not making this up. This isn't crazy. I'm not just going with the culture or something like that. It really helped validate my queerness.
I felt that the first time I got an astrology reading decades ago. I remember I felt like, that's why I'm like that? I should stop trying to change. I always felt like it was the difference between trying to rub that freckle out. It's part of you. It's a freckle. It's your spots.
Well, what's fascinating about you is that you have Mars, which is a rather masculine sign, masculine planet. It's in Virgo.
Odd by ascendant.
Which is the most feminist of the whole zodiac.
Yeah.
And so it's very much about breaking gender rules for you. And that's on your ascendant. because that pushes the gender roles right there, just those two things. And then mine is I have Uranus on my ascendant, and that's typically a common sign for non-binary queer people. And
Originally, before the term homosexual was termed, which was only recent modern times,
right.
Gay people were called Uranians in the early part of the 19th century, or 1900s, I should say.
Right.
I thought that was wild, because, well, obviously it's.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. We went to an LGBTQ thing. Not everyone in astrology agrees, and that's okay. But for me, I like to look at queerness in the chart. It's one of my favorite things to do. Christina's a Pisces. Okay. Chicago always gives me weird vibes. Well, that could be true. I am indeed a person, Christina. Hi, Zoe.
Well, we should take a look at the charts. It's a new moon week. The yods we talked about last week are still in action, I should say. I'm not sure how to put it. Still in play. This beginning,
are still being expressed.
Yeah,
maybe.
So the beginning of the week, and we talked about what yods mean before. Yods or quincunxes are also known as fingers of God. It sounds very fated, doesn't it? The finger of God. And what it means is that energy is not, it's not mutable, it's not changeable, it's not negotiable. It is fated energy. It's like, this is what's supposed to happen. I'm sorry you don't like it. This is what's supposed to happen, And so that's why we're very grateful you listen to any astrology report. Thank you for listening to us in Rainbow Soulstrology. We're always a big fan of a lot of different forecasts. And that's why. Because when there's fated energy and there's nothing you can really do to change it, it's really good to know that. Okay, this is a week. Go with the flow. If there's things that you're sensing, I'm supposed to go that way for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but I better go that way. Follow your instincts, because that's exactly what the energy is. The other thing I'm going to say overall about this new moon week, I have not seen a week like this in a really long time relative to void of course moons. There are huge voids this week.
I noticed.
Which means the dramatic flare of emotional moon energy is at its weakest. The moon is coming home to Cancer, so we have a new moon on Wednesday. But all week we have some really big, long void moons. So I'll be curious what you guys, if you're feeling like, yeah, I've been feeling like I don't know what to do today. Like my mojo to get shit done is just gone. Like I got a walk done, and then it was like, do I want to start something? Well, I'll go change the laundry,
Is that like Mars and Virgo, though? Because your Mars is in Virgo, and I notice that Mars usually doesn't make me feel really good.
I have a feeling of, I have time, I should do stuff. Well, you don't have that much time. Are you sure you want to get involved in that? That's kind of a big project. Well, maybe I shouldn't, and then you've screwed around deciding, you've run out of time.
Right.
Here we go, right?
Sounds like a Virgo thing, though.
So if you're having a day like that, I'd love to know, because right now, why don't we go to the chart, hon? We are in a void period. So what does that mean? It means that the moon is in transition from one sign to the next, and that in between is called the void. It's when the moon is at its weakest, when it has the least amount of energy. Even though it's coming home to Cancer on Wednesday, it's barely has much time. Normally we see the moon cycle 2.5 times in each sign and all sorts of different aspects. When the void happens a lot of times, like right now, notice the first column in the chart is the moon, the first column in that triangle pattern. There are no aspects. So the moon went void this morning at 8:25 and does not come out of void until tomorrow morning. This is Mountain Time, Colorado Mountain Time. Sorry, I forgot to put MT right there. So just for your time period, 3:45 a.m. So those of you working a night shift, it might be a long, slow night.
You'll get off and something crazy will happen in the last 15 minutes. It happens all the time, and every nurse is out there going,
God.
oh no.
Quiet all night. And the times goes a shift change. And
Last 15 minutes, yep.
So if you watched us last week, we saw for several days at the end of last week, these yods get set up. And these fingers of God, they are involving, one is pointing at Pluto, the planet of transformation. And it's quincunx Mars, and Mars and Pluto are considered the higher and lower vibration of each other. And then the other side of the base, where there's a sextile, is Jupiter and the Sun.
I don't know if you guys can see the pointer here. I'm trying to...
So a finger of God is always two in conjunctions, and the base is a sextile. So the sextile is the easy part. The inconjuncts are, whew, this is intense, right? And so there you have it. That's the finger of God. And it hangs out for the first 3 days of the week, which is very interesting. They don't usually set up that long, but because it's Pluto, which is slow moving,
and the sun's just caught up to it. Yeah.
And then the other thing you're going to notice this week is that the Sun and Jupiter are conjuncting. It perfects on Tuesday. Some people say that's really lucky. Jupiter, of course, brings everything big and lucky. I heard Nadia talking about it, and sometimes you don't know what's lucky or fortunate or blessed until later. Later.
Sometimes that happens. Yeah, like something happens and you don't realize how lucky you were for that thing to happen.
Yeah.
Later. Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. I haven't always had that experience, but I can see why she would say that. I've had the experience of definitely some days lucky with Sun and Jupiter conjunct, because it happens like at least once a year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Sometimes even more than once, I think, but definitely at least once a year.
So you can see the Jupiter and the Sun over here in Cancer. Hopefully you guys can see my pointer. Make sure that you let me know that you can see that.
Okay.
Okay, so hold on.
Oh, good. Samantha validated that's exactly how they feel. The void moon, where you're like, I have time to do stuff. Well.
Okay. And then Beth said, "Can someone please tell me if I'm a Leo? But in all actuality, I was supposed to be born in the middle of September. I was born early. I'm definitely a Leo. But for everything in life has been so freaking hard for me. Pertaining to relationships, family, and the lack of friendship. Is this the thing? I should be a Virgo, but ended up a Leo." Okay, so Beth, if you were born, this is where people get confused. Where they're like, if my due date was this day, so she might be on the cusp or something. But first of all, let me just say, whether you're a Leo or a Virgo doesn't make your life easy or hard. Let me start there. Okay, and I would also say, thanks, Samantha, for letting me know you cannot see the pointer.
Okay.
And so the other thing is, Beth, is that it's not just about where your sun is. In fact, it has a whole lot to do with reading your whole chart. And that is more important than what sun sign you have. In fact, what you learn by watching us is that that's not really that important, actually. What's most important is like your rising and some other things like where your moon is and things like that. So anyway, that's why we have this beginner's chart, this beginner's guide. It's just a couple bucks. at my website, and I do astrology charts, so of course I could help you understand while your quote-unquote life is so hard, is what you said. You said it was so hard, and I can look at it, and I could probably validate that for you. It's probably in your chart. Probably. Most things, I've never met anyone that completely is not expressing their chart. They're usually expressing it in shadow or in the light, but they're expressing their chart.
And I love the talk that we listened to the other night, where we listen to probably several classes a week, often. And she was talking, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name right now, but she was talking about when you don't see it right away in the chart and you're kind of mystified, look at your secondary progress chart. And what that means is we are not exactly who we were when we were born. And as we get older, especially like 40s, 50s, 60s, you really want to look at the progress chart and look at the sun and the moon. Because they are definitely going to be different than what you were born with. And where your moon is, it'll be in that sign for 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And she explained so much that I found so fascinating when people are feeling like, why am I?
But I think that
why
more
are
applies
things going
to,
a certain way.
I think that really applies to people that had a really rough life and then it got good, or a really easy life and then it suddenly started to get hard in their 40s or something like that. And so those are the kinds of things that you'll find through the progress chart.
And we don't want to get too far ahead because some people are like, progressed what? I'm just trying to work with my natal chart. What the hell are you talking about? I understand, because that's the whole idea behind, get our little astrology books, or if you've gotten that and you're like, okay, I'm ready for a little more, then our Astrology 101 class, that's a 5-part series, and it includes 2 Q&As with Hollis. That is really, really valuable.
Yeah, it's one-on-one. We'll work together.
That alone is worth more than what we're charging for the class. It's really quite funny. So, but it's because we love astrology and we don't want to have it feel like gobbledygook. We want to have it feel relevant and pertinent and, oh, that's why that happens. That's why I feel XYZ. That's how I work with, the energy. So, hopefully you can take advantage of stuff like that. And then as you get a little bit deeper, you start to realize there's all these other things that are really valuable to understand. And understanding a progress chart, especially as we get older, is really, really helpful. All right. But let's stick
Samantha,
to the base.
Christina, yes, I am a medium. In fact, I do a special reading called, that I'm the only person in the world that I know of that does it. It's called a mediumship astrology reading, and essentially astrology death chart reading. Essentially what I'm doing is looking at the birth and death of someone you love and using mediumship to communicate to the other side. I'm also looking at your astrology chart and looking at all 3 charts at the same time. Okay? So
I love it. Mama Cole is having a lunar return to when it was in her natal chart, in her progress chart. So what that means...
I don't think she knows what her progress chart is.
My moon is in the same place when I was born. I can't remember what that meant.
Okay.
In her progress chart?
I don't know if she means that, because I'm not sure if she knows how to get to her progress chart.
Oh, okay. You have to... Oh, I feel like we're going down a rabbit hole.
Right.
So let's try to get back to the charts for this week.
Right.
Great
exactly.
questions, though.
But anyway, so we have these 2 yods. We have one yod pointing at Pluto and Aquarius. Right. And then we have another yod that is pointing at Mars up here in Virgo, which is very much about practical movement and taking action around things. So I think that that's really important, especially in the actions that you might be taking today. And I think it goes into tomorrow. The void moon will lift in the morning, so your actions may show better tomorrow than they do today.
And the thing that I loved or really appreciated about what Christopher Renstrom was saying, he's an amazing astrologer to listen to. I always learned something from him. He was saying Mars in Virgo is like your ultimate mentor or coach or very positive parent that's like, "Atta go, that a way to do it, keep going," and help you push past whatever you think. And what the main thing was that I heard him say over and over and over is Mars in Virgo. Mars is asking you, what do you want? And then do the work and you can get it. You can accomplish it. It's definitely powerful in a position to make dreams come true. And I love the sound of that. I was like, very cool. But he also was like, careful what you ask for. And this isn't pie in the sky. I want $1 million or I want something stupid, It's, what is it that you've been working on that you're like, God, it would be so good if I could finish my book or that project or whatever it is and do the work. And if you do it, right on.
Well, hopefully I'll get mine done.
Yeah.
All right. So that's Monday and Tuesday. And then as we get more into Wednesday, later in the week, there's a new moon, right?
Wednesday morning. So this is such a trip. Okay, so you guys know we're in a void all day today. It ends at 3:45. And then Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. This is Wednesday's chart, yes? Wednesday.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At 3:45 in the morning, the void ends. Less than an hour later, it's a new moon in Cancer. So the feeling I had when I was writing this chart was, you know how when you're really excited to be home and you like throw the keys on the table and then you're like, shit, I only have 50 minutes.
Right.
Before I have to run out, leave. I need to grab a shower, grab a snack, and change my clothes. Because, the moon is home in Cancer. And that was the vibe I got, was like, there is such a short period of the moon, the way the moon is moving through. And the other thing that I want to kind of point out here, because you can see it pretty dramatically, is that red square line. The sun, moon, and Jupiter are squaring Saturn and Neptune. You see that?
Patriot. So the thing about Jupiter and Cancer is that it also brings out things about your home and patriotism and things like that. The sun is very much about moving forward and what are you bringing out here, right? And the moon, of course, is emotional and probably going to put a lot of emotional drive to patriotism. Which, to be honest, when I first started to see this coming up, before things have shifted, I thought that this was going to be more of like the Proud Boys or those types of people. And to be honest, what it's been is it's been the protests. It's been the No Kings protest has been represented by the Jupiter in Cancer. All the protests we've been seeing against the president are actually the ones that are being reflected by Jupiter in Cancer, Sun in Cancer, and Moon in Cancer. So I'm just going to say, assuming that trend continues, you can see it's in a square to Saturn and Neptune, which Saturn is about the system. Neptune is slowly pulling itself away from Saturn, and it will be doing this dance for quite some time because they're both going to turn around and go retrograde into Pisces and then back again in Aries. So there's this whole story that we're playing out with that Cancer energy, which handles a lot of the patriotism. And I'm telling you, absolutely every time we've seen aspects with that, it hasn't been the maggots. It's been it's been the blue people. And I'm like, well, astrology doesn't lie, does it? Because those are your true Democrats. Those are your true patriots. Those are the people that are truly American, right? Those are the people that believe in the idealism of America, right? The people that are going to protests and that are protesting the king that's currently running our country. So absolutely, that's where the patriotism, that's where, like, so when I've been noticing that it's in a square to Saturn like that, that means there could be some issues with the system. So if you are part of those groups and you are organizing them or helping organize them, there could be some challenges around like getting your permits for your protests or something like that. It could also have to do with the illusion around the system, because right now there's an illusion dancing with the system, and it's going to go retrograde later on this summer, and it's gonna change things. But that'll be after Uranus moves into Gemini, which I'm interested to see how that goes.
Yeah.
But that square that you're talking about there. We'll have there will be something about the system and the illusions around the system that make it that maybe give some difficulty or slightly challenging, but they'll just make the protesters stronger. Actually, it's just gonna embolden them. It's just gonna make them more resilient and that much stronger. So whatever happens on Wednesday, that's what's gonna.
And of course, a new moon is always a great opportunity to make your intentions for the month, your intentions, your wishes. When you have a moon, everybody gets a moon. What I think Mama Cole is saying is their moon that is the moon. Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's a Cancer moon, new moon in Cancer, I should say. So everybody gets one once a year, at least. Your moon returning to where it was, and usually that means you feel quite at home with where you're at, emotionally resonant, because it's familiar, right? So this void moon that ends on Wednesday morning, right before the new moon, check it out what happens on Thursday. It goes void again. Can you believe it? Like, wait a minute, didn't we just do this? So we're avoid almost all day Monday, avoid almost all day. Wait, what are we on? Thursday.
This is Thursday.
It starts at 3 p.m. and it goes all the way until Friday morning. Like, huge void moons. So remember the other thing we talked about.
And you already explained what a void moon was.
Yeah, I was just going to say, remember, it's the time that the moon is the least dramatic. So it could be a great time to get things past people who bring too much drama to the party, and you feel like, oh my God, I hate talking to them because they're so emotional or whatever. This is a great week to get those conversations done and out of the way.
Could be a chill week.
Things where you need something to fly under the radar. That's how you use a void moon. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Right.
That vibe. You can use it to your advantage.
Right.
So
yeah.
I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, and Mercury doesn't actually move into Leo really until Friday. Which I think will really depend on, first of all, but I will say, okay, so a whole bunch of things at one time. Okay, so Mercury, when it enters Leo on Friday, it actually will be traveling with the moon. And I think that does say something about what kinds of words will be coming out of our mouth as Mercury changes signs. And Mercury is exactly as I described in the meditations, very fast, it's very quick. And it is about communication, about delivering messages, and transportation. And so, with the moon in Leo, it's actually opposite. It's actually coming into opposition of Pluto. So that makes me think about the protests and things like that. Because then we come back to the protesters and the Leo thing, but it also could make arrogant people say arrogant things. And it's gonna, either way, whether Leo is expressed in arrogance or in high integrity, which it can be expressed both ways depending on the way the Leo is expressing it at that time. So if they're in shadow, they're probably going to come across as arrogant. If they're, not insecure and they're emotionally fairly level-headed, then they're probably going to come across as integrous, as like the pride, as like a great leader, as an amazing leader, as the leader you want to follow, as the person that you can hear that inspires you. Okay, so that's Mercury in Leo, and depending on who's talking is gonna depend on what arrives on stage. And let me say, Leo is often on stage, and since it is exactly opposite Pluto in Aquarius, which is like we the people, this makes me think about somebody coming out and saying something, someone speaking the truth, someone coming to integrity. This makes me think about like someone stepping up and saying, okay, I'm going to tell the truth, or this is what actually happened. And that could actually happen after all that transits with the moon in Cancer. And then the moon brings those same emotions now to your words. And so, they could have had the feeling about it earlier in the week. And then during the void moon, because they're doing inner reflection, hopefully, and then they speak their truth. Or someone else, a inspiring leader could come up, or those kinds of things. Some sort of integrous message will be delivered. It's in Leo, so it will be on a public stage. And if it's in your personal life, if you have anything at 0, 1, or 2 degrees Leo, or 29 degrees Cancer, Mercury's going to be on there. So listen up for messages. So that will depend on your chart, but you definitely want to stay open, because Mercury will just drop its message and go. Okay, and so hopefully you can get it. And when Mercury passes over any planet that you might have, so if you have something in 29 degrees Cancer, or 0 degrees Leo, you want to really be listening and tuning in on Friday and paying attention to any messages that might arrive. And messages can arrive in a lot of different ways. They can arrive like this while you're listening to a podcast. They can arrive from someone you love, could say something, or your neighbor could say something, or you could see something on TV, or you could have a realization in your own mind while you're getting a shower, okay? And then all of a sudden you have this, like, you feel like somebody just said something or inserted a thought in your brain. Those are the ways that Mercury might deliver a message. And I just want to tell you to be listening, especially Thursday and Friday, because that's when it will happen, Thursday into Friday. Okay. And then I noticed Saturday and Sunday. Okay, yeah, I forgot. Mercury's going to then enter its shadow, right?
It's in its pre-shadow. So right now, Mercury has just entered Leo. Mm-hmm. When it gets to 15 degrees, it'll start backing it up.
Right, but I'm pretty sure this is the... this is the shadow part.
Exactly. And then it'll go back over this spot that it's in right now. So, that's why I marked it.
So pay attention to any of the messages that you might get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, because this also might have something to do with what happens during the Mercury retrograde. Mm-hmm. Mercury is going to go to about 15, 16 degrees later on in the summer into Leo, and then it's going to turn around about 15 degrees and come back to where it is here on Saturday. So it's going to review those areas, and those areas are going to actually get 3 passes, right? Because then Mercury will turn around and go direct again over the same area. So if you have stuff between like 2 degrees Leo and 16 degrees Leo, any planet, you want to look for Leo. Leo looks like that little red horseshoe. You can see it there in the 2nd house. And you can see that Mercury is at 2 degrees here, and the moon is at 16 degrees. See the moon? And the moon, you're already reading charts there. See that? That's the moon, and it's in Leo. That's what that symbol is. Moon in Leo at 16 degrees. So anything that happens right in there between like 2 and 15 degrees, you have any planets there, then you want to, the numbers I'm getting from, see the little black numbers right next to the planets, okay? And then the smaller numbers are seconds. And those are just like, I think there's 60 seconds in each degree or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so you can see that Mercury is at 2 degrees, 9 seconds, okay? And so you just want anything that's in there, even if it's at 1 degree Mercury, you want to be really paying attention.
1 degree Leo.
Yeah, sorry, 1 degree Leo, because let me just say, anything at the beginning of Leo to 16 degrees, including your moon, Bright Hawk, pay attention. Pay attention, because whatever is happening, whatever comes up during that time, is going to be part of your Mercury retrograde. Okay, so if you're paying attention, it will help you navigate the Mercury retrograde better. Okay,
right. And the other thing I wanted to say, I'm sorry, I probably was confusing to answering Mama Cole's moon question. What I meant when I said the moon. You get 1 a year. That's a full moon or a new moon, 1 a year. But of course, the moon passes through every sign in the zodiac throughout the month, right? The moon passes through the zodiac. The entire circle takes 29 days, and so you're going to experience the moon passing over your moon every month. But they'll be in different phases, usually. And we pay more attention to it when it's a full moon or a new moon because of its emphasized energy.
Mm-hmm.
But, so, sorry, I didn't mean to be confusing.
Okay, so,
questions coming up?
Okay, so yeah, hold on a second. I might have told you in the reading. I might have. I don't always remember readings. Thank you so much, guys, for addressing my question. You're welcome, Beth. When do you do these readings? Christina, I do astrology death chart readings when you book with me at my website, divineandrogen.com.
And sometimes you do parties where you can see Hollis do it and buy a ticket to the circle. You'll get a small reading and as part of the party, and then someone gets the grand prize.
Yeah, we are doing...
You guys just did it the last few Friday nights. I don't know if you're planning on doing it again.
Yeah, we actually have another date set up. The next time we're doing a party will be July 9th, and that's when you can enter. You can enter to win a free astrology. Well, it's not free because you have to pay to attend the event. Okay, but you can essentially. I'm going to put the link in here. The next reading party. So the reading party, you can go read about it, but essentially you can win the astrology death chart reading. Okay.
So Samantha Mack said she has a moon at 3 degrees Leo. Yes, that is being lit up. Whew. I have a 0 degree moon Leo. So yes, this week you're going to feel those placements for sure. And then when it all goes retrograde, it's going to come back over this turf. And that's why we're saying pay attention now and see how it unfolds. And that's why I also put the information in about Mercury retrograde doesn't actually begin until July. What did I say? July 17th? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So
let me just say, Mama Cole, you're having a Jupiter return. So that's usually good, depending on what house it's in. It usually brings you good luck and money and things
positive,
like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is it a good time to quit my job?
Chelsea says it's a good job to quit my boss is extra. Chelsea, you're so funny. I'll take it. If you come get a reading, I will answer that question.
I was going to say, boy, we don't have any business giving advice without a lot more information.
Yeah, Samantha has Mars in Leo, so that means it's going to light up her Mars. So Mercury's going to light up her Mars. So what's probably going to happen, Samantha, is you're probably going to tell somebody how it is.
Samantha, have you had an intense month with Mars in Leo? Because Mars has been in Leo for most of the month and would have passed over that about 3 degrees.
She had it when we had that when that was going on. I remember that. But
it was
now
uncomfortable.
It was very uncomfortable
because it was on my moon. So.
But then we're
But then when it finally moved off, it was like, oh, okay. Now I can get stuff done, but not feel like I'm gonna burn up in the process.
Right.
Incinerate.
And I think on Sunday, Sunday's kind of chill. I'm actually gonna say that this week is mostly kind of chill, but you just want to be listening to messages Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, Sunday again, big retro from the morning through till almost noon. So from almost midnight to noon, practically, we have another solid, big void moon. So Sunday, chill, baby. Have brunch. Take care of yourself. Do not
That's what I'm doing.
Anything.
She's going to make some pancakes.
Sunday morning, I make pancakes because I'm really good at it.
Yeah, so, try to have...
I'd invite you over. If we could just give them out in the Zoom, I would.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I hope that was helpful. I'm gonna do a horoscope for everybody based on the Mars into Leo. Okay?
Yeah, maybe that'll help you, Samantha. And I'm just gonna say, if you are ever anyone feeling lost in life, or confuzzled, or just like, God, what is going on? Get an astrology reading, but with a really good astrologer, I'm just going to say, that can help you understand, okay, this is what life is asking of me. This is what I lean into. Or hang in there, hold on. You're just a few more weeks from a change or whatever it is. Or this is going to be going on for some years, so get yourself, good at meditating or whatever. I'm making stuff up, but
that could happen.
Wow,
I would suggest.
Really, I feel like my own experience at this point, at the tender age of 60, nobody can increase our suffering like we can. And if you have difficult transits, difficult placements, it's such a gift to yourself to get a good astrology reading and, make that, okay, I'm going to spend the money. I don't want to, some people, it's real easy for them to gift themselves things like astrology readings and massages and spa days. And other people, it's like, I could never give myself that. Yeah, you can. You can. And it's a really big insight into, could you please help me do me better? Because that's really what I find. I don't know how anybody lives, frankly, without understanding what your personal star map is and how to fulfill what you came here to do.
How to navigate life. Yeah. All right, I'm about to do our horoscopes.
I tried to give you time. Did it give you enough time?
Yeah, you did. I got it.
We worked together.
Thanks for helping me out with that.
My pleasure.
So you can see Mercury's in Leo. This is for Aries. This is for Aries sun, moon, and rising.
Are you sharing your screen?
Yep.
Good.
This is for Aries sun, moon, and rising. Now, first of all, I just want to say that Aries, you already have a lot going on, okay? You got Saturn and Neptune that have just moved into your chart. I'm sure there is all kinds of stuff happening in your life. You could feel like you're really shifting, and there could be some illusions and some dreams and some thoughts and things like that that are awakening within you. And just, keep trying to take care of yourself, okay? Try to stay nurturing with yourself. And then, what I want to say is that what is coming out, whatever messages you get around children or romantic relationships, Thursday, Friday, it could be about also romantic relationships, children, and creativity, okay? So those are the three main topics of this. It can also be about things that are really fun, You could have a really great sort of social interaction on Friday. That could really be great. But what I just want to say is pay attention to any messages that might come out, anything you might hear or sense or anything like that, because that's going to have a lot to do with your Mercury retrograde, okay? So just hold on to that. Just listen to that, especially around children, romantic relationships, or any kind of fun or creative type of things that you like to get your hands on, anything like that you like to do. And now we'll move on to Taurus. This is for Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Taurus, this has everything to do with your home, your place of living, the place you live. You love your home so much, or at least I hope you do. Otherwise, you're probably depressed because Taurus loves their home. And so Taurus, the thing is this is going to have a lot to do with home. So if you are not happy about where you are, you're going to let it be known. And if you are happy about where you are, you will also let it be known. Either way, it will be heard. It will be heard by any of the people that need to hear it, including things like protests and anything like that. Thursday, Friday, if you have things to say, make sure you say them. Listen to them. Listen to what comes out of your mouth, especially if some intuitive words come flying out of your mouth as the moon enters Leo with Mercury at the same time, both of them coming in on Friday. I could just totally see you channeling something very intuitive with the moon there. The moon's traveling with this, so anything that you say intuitively that you're not really sure where that came from and you just kind of said it, that could also be your message. So that's the message that I was talking about. It will have something to do with your home, the place you live, or your family of origin, your parents. So anything like that, or even if you are adopted, it would be your adopted parents or your birth parents. It could be either set. And the thing is that this will be communication about that, and some sort of verbal sort of outcry or something like that you might hear, or messages that you might receive. Be sure to take those in, okay, Taurus? Be sure to listen, because otherwise it's going to come up during your Mercury retrograde. Well, it still will, but at least you'll have a warning now. Okay, so then the next is Gemini. And Gemini, this has everything to do with your community and your neighbors and the people around you. And especially siblings, neighbors, people like that, especially people that you might see in your day-to-day life, in your community. It could also have something to do with communication, meaning how you're communicating with others, Gemini. And essentially, this, because it's communication, it's really going to have a lot to say. And I wouldn't be surprised if you were talking to someone in a positive way, in relation to they have some sort of strong influence on you. Because then, or some sort of, like, could be friends or something like that. But whatever you say will be heard. And people, it will be important part of your Mercury retrograde. So make sure you're paying attention Thursday, Friday, what goes on there, what is happening. Oops. And the next is Cancer. This is for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And the thing about you, Cancer, is that this is going to be about money. There's something that needs to be said about money, huh? And maybe it's other people's money too, huh? So, because especially with it opposite Pluto, it feels like maybe there's something to be said about someone not paying their part of the bills, or something to be said about money, okay? So whatever that is, whatever's going on in that department, make sure you're listening, because that will have a big to-do, big thing to say for you, as far as money goes. It could also have to do with, like, values or things that you value or how you spend your money, that kind of thing, all right? But it's going to be opposite Pluto, which is in the 8th house, which usually represents other people's money. So especially if you're, something's going on there, it could could be rather difficult. Either way, you want to pay attention for your Mercury retrograde period that will be coming up later this summer. Okay, and so that's for Cancer. And now for Leo. This is for Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Leo, this has everything to do with your identity of who you are and what kind of person you are and how you identify. And so it'll probably be about you. Try not to sound too arrogant, Leo. Be aware that other people might also be having a different experience. So staying aware of that, and that could very much be part of your Mercury retrograde. Maybe there's something about, maybe you just don't see how other people are having different experiences, or something like that. Maybe you're coming across as arrogant in some certain places. Leo, you might need to be shifted in that department, okay? So be aware that Mercury and the Moon will be traveling through your first house of personal identity. And that could affect your relationships because it's opposite Pluto over in the house of relationships. So then that makes me think it's going to have a lot to do with, like, somebody seeing you a certain way. And just remember, Leo, just because you're good at it, you don't have to tell everybody that you're good at it. Okay? All right. And the next is Virgo. Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Virgo, this is going to have a lot to, I'm going to say, Virgo, you want to be careful here that it doesn't sabotage you, okay? Because this could very well be self-sabotaging. Especially if you, as for Virgo rising, it could be, you could sabotage yourself. You could say something, especially to someone that has of higher influence than you, or that influences you directly. So you might want to pay attention to exactly Thursday, Friday, exactly what you're saying. Just try to be more aware, be prepared for stuff to come flying out of your mouth that you were like, where the hell did that come from? It will come from the unseen is where it's going to come from. And it could affect your day-to-day life. Might be at work or something like that. So just be careful there, especially Thursday and Friday. Okay. Let me just make a minor adjustment here. And there it is. And hours. No. It doesn't work. Okay. The thing is that it moves and it's changing the signs here. So it's okay. Now we're in Libra. So this is for Libra, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Libra, this is going to probably have something to do with work. Libra. Could have something to do with your boss or your coworkers or people you work with. And so you might just want to be a little bit careful about what you're saying. Maybe you're carrying something, or there's something going on in your creative world, or maybe you just want some time off or something. So maybe some truth needs to be spoken. So you just might want to slow down a little bit, Libra. Make sure you still speak your truth. Don't swallow it. Still speak your truth. Still say what you got to say. But try to find the best way. And I know you will probably, Libra. Libras are pretty good. They don't like conflict. So they get good at figuring out how to say stuff without a conflict. But don't swallow it, Libra. Otherwise, you'll probably blow up during the Mercury retrograde. So, like, if you ignore it now, it's probably going to come up again during the Mercury retrograde, and then you'll probably blow up. Okay, so just don't do it. So I'm recommending that you deal with it now, so that during the Mercury retrograde, when it happens again, you'll have already taken step one. Okay, you'll be so grateful. You'll be so much happier with yourself. I assure you, Libra. I'm a Libra moon. Okay. Now, this is for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Scorpio, this is going to have everything to do with your work and whatever you offer or put out in the world, whatever you're putting out there, especially stuff that you find spiritual meaning in, or that, like, you know, you're meant to do this or something like that, Scorpio. Anything that's, you know, spiritual or of like mindfulness and consciousness and things like that, in particular, because Mercury is going to be right there at the top of your sky. So it's going to be very public, whatever you say, Scorpio. So, you know, be aware of what you're saying. And you see me listening over here because I'm live all the time and people hear me say all kinds of stuff. So I'm Scorpio rising over here. Because if you don't, it might come back and bite you in the ass during the Mercury retrograde. So pay attention to what you're saying now so that you can be sure, you know, listen to yourself. Also listen to any messages or downloads you get, because definitely Mercury loves to deliver messages. Okay, so then the next is Sagittarius. Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Sagittarius, this has everything to do with other people's money. Other people's money. So whatever you're listening to about other people's money, or any decisions you're making in regards to that, you know, be careful how you're dealing with that, Sagittarius. It could also have to do with like death or sex or any like taboo topics that don't particularly feel good to you or that are uncomfortable to talk about. You know, they're not exactly things that people just stay smiling about. And Sagittarius mostly likes it when everybody's smiling. So they're probably not going to talk about these subjects, but you might find yourself in a taboo topic, in a taboo conversation on Friday. So, you know, just listen and be open to the messages and try to, you know, sit with yourself and ask yourself, why is this topic so taboo? Okay? I think it's good. I think it's good to ask yourself why certain topics are taboo. Maybe it's just the Scorpio way. I don't know. All right. So now we're into Capricorn. This is for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Capricorn, this has everything to do with the relationships you're in. Who are you in relationship with? Your friends? Who are you? How do you handle those relationships, and what are you saying to them? Be careful about what you're saying, Capricorn. I know sometimes, you know, your emotions are not always present, and so the messages that you could be bringing out could be kind of on the colder side, or it might be detached from your emotion and then all of a sudden attached with the emotion when Mercury and the Moon move into Leo at the same time. So just be aware that it will be in your house of relationships. So you could very well say the wrong thing with a relationship, and who wants to do that, right? Because it will probably come up again during that Mercury retrograde. Okay. And now Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Where do we go? Okay. Aquarius, this will also have to do with relationships for you, but it will more affect also your day-to-day life, okay? So it will affect your relationships, but it's probably going to be the relationships that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. Like, you know, it could be people that you work with, or your kids, or, you know, or family members, your partner, things like that. And so you just, you know, there might be part of you that has to shift and change, part of your identity that maybe needs to be spoken out or spoken in truth. So, you know, so that you can have a better life, so that you can feel like you're living a life that you love, Aquarius. And that's really what's important right now, right? So that you can express the way you're feeling. So don't be surprised if something comes flying out of your mouth on Thursday, Friday, and something that maybe you didn't think too much about, but it'll probably come up again during the Mercury retrograde. But I'm sure that you'll work it out. Okay, Aquarius? It'll have a lot to do with relationships, somebody that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And now this next is for Pisces. Pisces, this is probably going to have to do with your romantic relationships, okay? This is going to have to do with especially romantic relationships and work. And sometimes maybe you're working too much or not enough. And so Pisces, you know, that's probably going to come up. and it might come out of nowhere for you. Maybe your spouse will say something to you, or you'll say something to your spouse, or whatever it is, Pisces. Something will be said that will have something to do with, could also do romantic relationship, or your children, or like fun or things you love to do, especially in relation to your job or your work in the world. Okay, whatever you do day to day, even if you're like, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom, well, then it would have to probably, don't be surprised if your partner wants to have a conversation with how you're spending money. Okay, so that would be something I would predict. Okay. All right. Hey, Carrie, great to have you. Very true, said Samantha. And oh man, my Libra sun is like, yeah, I got this. But my Scorpio rising is like, I'm ready to snap. Scorpio rising is just, oh man. All right. So.
That was amazing, Hollis. Thanks for doing that. I always learn something.
Well, it's definitely something.
How it touches us all. And now for the final topper of our Soulstrology podcast is the reflection of the tarot. The 3-card pull to see how the stars and the tarot always amazingly speak to each other. Hollis does a 3-card pull, one for the past, one for the present, one for the future.
Oh.
And I feel always like I want to do a drum roll because I'm a drummer.
Well, look at that. You did it. Okay, so here's this first card, which every time I look at this card, regardless of what time of year it is, it always makes me think of Pride. It makes me think of how you can feel very supported at Pride, at least us queers can. And that's really what this card is about. It helps you feel supported. So this is a reminder of your support system, whatever that might be, that you've been relying on, especially from the most recent past. So that's pretty much what this is about. This is about the most recent past. Like, who have you been relying on? Who have you been leaning on? That's really what this card is all about, okay? And then going forward into the here and now, we have this, which is a unity, which is you coming together maybe with someone you love, or even having that intention. Can be very much about commitment and partnership with others, romantic relationships, things like that. It can also have to do with like work relationships where you're working with somebody that you're committing to them. And then in the future, it's showing the King of Pentacles because, which is a really great card. And it's to remind you that, like the thing is that the King of Pentacles is about having all you need, and not really needing anything, but also sharing it. Because that's the king. The king would also share, okay? In this deck, probably not in the real world, but in this deck, the king will share. Okay, sorry, I just went to the
proper.
No king's protest. Okay, anyway, so this has to do with your support system, who they've been, and things like that. And going forward, any partnerships or collaborations or commitments that you might make will be very good for you. I would go ahead and do them now, before the end of the week. Because that's Mercury retrograde. Okay? Because then it will be good for you. Okay? It will be positive. But what I'm saying is you don't want to commit to things after this weekend. By like the latest I would do it is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But like, yeah, really, I would hesitate even there.
Take advantage of the energy now.
Take advantage of it now, and then just wait and see, because try to wait until the end of Mercury retrograde to make commitments. It usually just what happens is that Mercury, when it's in its shadow, maybe not everything was communicated or something like that, and a commitment that you might not go through during, or might need to be reviewed or edited during the Mercury retrograde.
And that's what I was just going to say. Don't be afraid of a Mercury retrograde. And I think the statistics is something like a third of us were born under a Mercury retrograde. So that's me.
It happens. It happens twice a year.
For us, those of us who have Mercury retrograde in our charts, it's usually more comfortable. Like, oh, things I'm very familiar with this, that kind of thing. Regardless, just in general astrology as a rule, whenever a sign is changing signs like Mercury into Leo, or, last month we talked a lot about the importance of Neptune stepping into Aries, Saturn. So the beginning, right when it changes, and at the very end, right when it leaves. That's when it's the most powerful and most potent.
And it's
and
helpful.
Everyone feels like, whoa. And I describe it as, we're traveling along and maybe we didn't see the speed bump sign and we didn't slow down quite enough. And it's like, boom, boom, and some people are sitting in the front of the car and some people are sitting in the back of the car. And, the people in the front are going to hit their head first and the people in the back are going to hit their head second. That's kind of like the fixed, the cardinal, the fixed, and the mutable. It's kind of like what's being activated, who feels it first. So, yes, if you have Leo placements right now, you are probably feeling this in that early degree. And, thank you so much for asking such great questions and interacting with us. We really appreciate your listening. And I know most of you who are listening are already subscribers and have checked the bell. Thanks if you can share. If you liked what we've said, gosh, it helps a whole lot if you give it a little thumbs up action. And more than anything, we hope you guys have a great week. We really appreciate you listening to Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars.
Goodbye.
Have a great week. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for spending time with us this week. We hope you're feeling more connected to the cosmic energies in your life and what works for you. We send you lots of love on your journey. If you enjoyed today's show, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps reach more people who could use some cosmic guidance. Hey, and don't forget to share this episode with anyone who might need or want to hear it. Thanks so much for spending time with us this week. We hope you're feeling more connected to the cosmic energies in your life and what works for you. We send you lots of love on your journey. If you enjoyed today's show, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps reach more people who could use some cosmic guidance. Hey, and don't forget to share this episode with anyone who might need or want to hear it. And we love hearing from you, so drop us a comment and let us know what resonated most for you, or if you'd like to hear something new next week. Your questions and feedback make us better. Want to join us live? Subscribe! Catch us on Facebook and YouTube. And that's where you can ask real-time questions and be part of the Rainbow Soulstrology community while it happens. Until next week, trust your intuition, follow your inner wisdom, and remember, the stars are always supporting your journey. Thanks for listening to Rainbow Soulstrology, where we try to be a bridge between you and the stars.